Good evening and welcome to the first edition of two tonight of Beyond the Front Page, a show brought to you by Cayuga Community College that is shown on Spectrum, Verizon Fios, as well as ARMA, the Auburn Regional Media Access, and is also played on Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. We are delighted to have in our studio today local author Joseph DiVietro, who has come out with a new, beautifully laid out book about Auburn, which is called Past and Present. Some of you may have read a previous book that he had come out with, which we'll talk a little bit about, which is Auburn Murder Stories that he did with Detective Thomas Berger, that we profiled a while ago. But we're delighted to have him in the studio to talk about this, where the money's going, because he has a special interest in the Cayuga Museum for History and Art. But welcome.
Thank you.
So this is a great book. We cannot show people a lot of pictures of the book, but tell us what the format is.
Well, I took photos. The Cayuga Museum has thousands of photos of old photos of Auburn. So I went through them and I picked out probably 150, and then I decided to take those 150 old photos and then take the same shot of where that building was in today's time.
So you took the newer photos?
I took all the newer photos,
okay.
Yes.
So are all the past photos from the Cayuga Museum?
Probably 90% of them. I did get some from personal collections.
Okay. Any favorites in here?
Well, my favorite is there's one on East Genesee Street, Hoops Park. I grew up there. I remember riding bikes across the street there from North Marvin over to Park when I was young.
So out of the past, pictures, obviously there should be a matching present, but
yes.
How many pictures did you use in the end?
I believe there's 80 photos in the book.
And for all the current photos, what was the process for that? Did you pick the past photos first and then say, okay, now I'll go to such and such? Because you had to chop out something.
Yeah, I picked probably 200 past photos, and there's several history books out there now with photos in them. So I actually went through those books to try to not duplicate, past books from other writers.
So what did not end up in your book that you would have put in your book?
Probably, I'm satisfied with what's in the book.
Okay, so
yeah.
There's nothing that said, you know what,
no.
That was a really great photo,
no.
but
no.
No author's remorse on that?
No, not at all. I'm happy with what's in there. So what I did is I had them all lined up, 1800s, 1900s, and urban renewal. And then I went out usually on Saturday and Sunday morning, and with the old photo in hand, or on my phone, and tried to find the exact spot, exact angle, and took that photo.
And how long did that process take?
Probably 3 months.
And so from start to finish well, first of all, how'd you get the idea?
I don't know how the ideas come to my head. I think I get bored, and I'm thinking, what can I do now? Because I just don't want to sit around.
Okay.
So then I said, well, this would be a good idea. Let me do this.
So is this a privately published or a self-published, or did you go to a publisher with the idea?
That book I signed a contract with Arcadia Publishing.
Okay, and Arcadia is also, if you go almost anywhere, Barnes & Noble, a lot of local bookstores, they have this series, which are not current photos. These are all older photos.
Yeah.
And this is, you did work at the Auburn Police Department?
Yes, I worked there 30 years. I retired 4 years ago.
And you retired as what?
Sergeant, patrol sergeant.
So you were a patrol sergeant, so what were your duties?
Well, my final tour was on the day shift.
Okay.
Which
it took a while to get there?
It took 30 years, at the time, but yeah.
Do you notice all these new guys? They're all moving up the list.
Yeah.
In 4 years, they can be off nights.
I noticed that. My first half of my career, most of it, I never even dreamt that I could make days. It just wasn't a thing.
Okay, so when did you do this book?
In 2007. Both these in the Auburn Murder Stories were done in 2007.
And this one you did alone. Now, did you go to Arcadia for this one, or did they come to you?
No, I went to Arcadia for that one as well.
And where did these photos come from? I know a lot of them I've seen online.
Yeah.
And again, it's a beautiful book but it's nothing current. You're looking at Auburn's history in this particular.
Yeah, I had a personal collection of Auburn police photos, probably almost 1,000 photos that I collected over the years, and I've since donated those to the police department. So that's where almost all of those came from.
And this you can still purchase?
Yes, you can online at Amazon.
And I also know you're on eBay.
Yes.
I noticed on there. Can you go to some place like Barnes & Noble or Target? I know Target has a whole...
I believe Target also, and both the new book and that one also can be bought at Walmart and Target.
Walmart, okay. So in this particular case, there is some narrative. There's not a lot of narrative. There is a lot of narrative in this.
Yes.
So how much time did it take to write? You do a paragraph or two, well, mostly two or more paragraphs on each photo. So how did that come about?
Histories, or FultonHistory.com, I use that a lot.
Okay. For those who don't know, because it's a really cool site, and then once you get sucked in, you'll never come out.
Yeah.
But what is FultonHistories.com?
It's a collection of all the newspapers. I don't know, are they from around the country? But I know our local newspapers, you can research things back to the 1800s by just typing in a keyword like a name, Smith, or a street, or a business.
If you put Joseph DiVietro in there, there might be stories about arrests you've made.
Well, it could be, but yeah, but it'd be, my grandfather might be in there.
Okay.
You know, from working at Elko, 40, 50 years ago.
And so you've written this book, and then the other one that came out at that time was with Detective Berger. Did you both work the same
We did, yes.
timelines,
Yes.
roughly?
Yes.
So what is Auburn Murder Stories about?
Well, that's just, I believe, I can't remember now, we went up to like 1960s, a lot of late 1800 murders. We just researched them and documented them. It's kind of like it's documenting history.
And in this particular case, this is harder to get.
That is, we self-published that book.
Okay.
I did the Auburn Police, I went to Tom and I said, I think we can do this ourselves. And we did. We found an editor, we found a publisher, or a printer, and we did it. So that one hasn't been in print in several years. I actually reached out to Tom this week, actually, and we're trying to figure out where we had it printed because we can't remember.
So this wasn't a Myers book?
No, it was not.
Because obviously enough, when I went on the bookshelf, I found the receipt from, must be 2008? Is that when you did
Yeah,
it?
that's probably when he was selling them.
And I bought a copy of the book back then.
Yeah.
So most likely for a show with Tom Berger.
Yeah, he actually sold a lot of books for us. As soon as we can figure out where we had it printed,
So you're going to print this one again?
We're going to try, yes.
So those are murder stories. How did you work on them together for all stories, or did you pick? You did this murder, he did that murder.
We split it up. We split it up evenly, and then we each researched it, and then sent each other copies of it and proofread it, and just worked it through like that.
And this was not part of a national series, unlike
That's correct.
this group.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about where the money's going and all that. How much does this new book cost?
The new book costs $24.99 through Arcadia. All the proceeds for this book go to the Cayuga Museum.
And you can get it at the Cayuga
At the
Museum.
Cayuga
They
Museum.
have copies there. I was
They
just
do.
there the other day.
They do. I was just there today, and they have a whole stack of them. They just got in.
And you're doing some book signings still, correct?
I did one last weekend, but I don't have anything scheduled.
Okay.
at this
Where
point.
did you do last weekend?
Jim Meyer's old bookstore.
Because he was selling a lot of Auburn memorabilia. How'd that go?
He invited me down there. It was good. He had a
Did
great
you sell everything
turnout.
out?
I did, yes.
No, did he?
No.
Okay.
He sold probably most. I would say 50% of it.
I was.
He did real well.
At the state fairgrounds, and somebody in my family was very happy that I was at the state fairgrounds because
Yeah.
they did not want any more Auburn stuff.
Yeah, it was a
piling
great
up.
time. But it was nice to be back in there too.
So with this, you do the proceeds go to the Cayuga Museum for History and Art. Why?
Well, I think they're a great organization, and they have a great record of maintaining our history for our city, which is important. It has to be done.
And were you on the board at some point?
I was on the board for several years. I'm not on the board now.
Okay, and
but I still like
did
to
you
be
serve
active.
as an officer or just on the board?
I'm on the board.
On the board.
Yeah.
And if you go in the Cayuga Museum, you do not have to be a member to purchase the book.
That's correct.
It is always nice to buy a membership.
Yes.
And you can get a discount on the book if you buy that. But there are other books there about Auburn.
Yes.
So that is really, the last time I was thinking about it, the last one who's really sold Auburn books was Connie Talcott down in Union Springs.
Right.
There was nobody who had a really great collection of Auburn or Cayuga County books.
Yeah.
Cayuga Museum's it.
Yeah, Jim Myers had them at the time, but of course that's gone. There was
Right.
a store downtown at one time.
And they did have some, but I'm saying a large
Of the
collection
county,
of
yeah,
just
yeah.
out and out of all the county
Yeah.
Talcott who ran the bid, which we
Yeah,
were
if
just
you're,
talking
if
about.
you're looking for anything for local history or Cayuga County history, I would stop at the Cayuga Museum, and go through there. I mean, I shouldn't say this, but if you get a chance to tour the attic there, it's so impressive, the artifacts that are up there related to our history.
Is there another, I'm not talking about a book for you, but is there another book that you could get out of the Cayuga Museum? I say that because I know there's a new biography of Walter Long, who was the original director of the Cayuga Museum, helped found the Schweinfurth Art Center. His son has put out a new book, which is, again, nicely laid out. There are a lot of pictures in that one as well. Is there another book for the Cayuga Museum that you think could come out of their collection?
I don't know that. Actually, the Walter Long book, I know they have them in stock.
Yes.
Because Kirsten had mentioned that to me today.
Yeah, and that's
They-
and
they
again,
have
that's oddly enough, I have a different job than this. We give a scholarship out in Walter Long's name, and every winner for the next 10 years is going to get a copy of that book, so
Good.
they know what it's doing there. Do you have another book in mind?
No, I don't right now. I don't. Something will come to me probably in the wintertime, and I'm sitting there on the couch watching TV, and I'm like, I got to do something. So that's when I'll figure it out.
I guess I would ask this: was there anything derivative of this one with the Auburn Murder Mysteries? You said, well, let's try to give this, and it just didn't pan out as subject, or was this a one-off?
That was just a one-off. Yeah. There were a lot of murders happened since, I think it was 1950 or 1960 past. We didn't want to get into those. If we thought there was family still around or living family, we avoided it.
So next book is more likely narrative or pictures? Which is easier?
Probably the narrative is easier. I actually had, doing this book, there were several photos that I had trouble finding the location. And
Really?
Yeah, I did. And I went to Mark Lawn. I'm sure you know Mark.
He still?
Mark knows everything about everything,
Right.
and Jerry Vivone, and they were convincing me that you have to go here. That's where the building was. That's where the building was. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But that finally, after I connected the dots, okay, I looked on maps, I figured it out. But it's shocking how things have changed so much.
Well, if you're an Auburn file or you know somebody who loves Auburn and its history, this is a great and terrific book. Again, how much again?
$24.
$24. You can buy it at the Cayuga Museum. They're open usually Wednesday through Sunday, but check their hours because they're now back open. I think they're doing, as of tomorrow, tours of the Case Lab.
Yep.
That's most likely another picture book. There is a book there about Case there at the Cayuga Museum you can purchase. But this is a great book about our community, and it's so great that you're willing to come in here to talk about this. And
Thank you.
we wish you luck with this and whatever next book is coming out. Plan to come here and talk about
I
it.
will. Thank you for having me.
Like I said, our author today has been Joseph DiVietro, who was with the Auburn Police Department for 3 decades. He's come out with this book, Past and Present Auburn. It is a color book it's a book that matches photos from some time ago with current photos in the same position. Again, it can be purchased at the Cayuga Museum. Stick around. We'll be back in just a moment with Al Balicki, the Commodore of the Owasco Yacht Club, to come in to talk to us about what goes on at the Yacht Club and if you want to become a member. We'll be back on Thursday with Auburn Superintendent of Schools, Jeff Perazzola, as well as new business manager Tessa Crawford to talk about the budget and also how the budget that is being passed by the state of New York will impact Auburn's budget as it goes before the public in May. We'll also have Chris Major, another former police officer, who will be here to talk about Major Palooza. After 27 years, this May will be the last Major Palooza event in downtown, and we'll be talking to him. On Tuesday of next week, we'll have Caleb Slater, who is a Republican candidate for the New York State Senate seat that is now held by Rachel May, who will be here next Thursday as our plan. He is coming in to talk about his campaign and the primary that is in June. We asked both he and his opponent to join us. He has responded in his past rules that we've had laid out since 2006. If one candidate responds and the other one does not, we do allow the candidate to come in for a one-on-one. He'll be here then, and we look forward to having him in the studio, followed by a discussion with Connor O'Donnell, the principal at Tyburn Academy on Clymer Street. He'll be in to talk with two of his students about what's going on at Tyburn and their recent trip to Rome. If you have ideas for future guests, you can send them at cozguytho@aol.com. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. Stick around for a conversation about the Yacht Club, but otherwise we'll see you back here in the studio on Thursday. It goes quick.